Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of the Detour Live. I'm your host, Dan Jones, joined as always by Mr. Billboard himself, John Trevorrow, four-time National Road Champions, sitting in front of his Lexus of Blackburn Bay Crits sponsors banner, and you're probably going to be seeing that, folks, at least for the next couple of weeks. Johnny, how are you?
Daniel, I'm well. It keeps following me around everywhere I go. I look around, there's that damn Lexus of Blackburn Bay Crits logo behind me. But anyway, it's a good thing.
You might as well get wallpaper.
Well, we're at the launch on Tuesday, and it should be. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a horrific time for all of us with this damn pandemic. No bike racing, and so we are about to be back. So January 8 to 9. Looking forward to it. It's going to be huge.
Now, we don't normally broadcast on a Sunday outside of Grand Tours, but special episode because finally the course is announced for the Road Worlds in 2022, which is, of course, in Wollongong in New South Wales, in Australia, if you're from overseas and you've been living under a rock. But before we get into that, because we're going to have the race director, Scotty Sunderland, on later on, big news, Iffy, over the last couple of days is Dylan Grunewagen is signed with Team Bike Exchange, or it's going to be Team Jayco. What is it?
Bike Exchange
Jayco. Yeah, better get that right in case Jerry's watching. But big signing, John.
It's a huge signing, actually. I was lucky enough to sort of be in the conversation. I mean, I knew Jerry did tell me that they were talking with him the last few weeks. And I just thought, I had my fingers crossed because just if they got him, everything fits. I mean, when you look at the people they've recently got in the team and the leader train they are building, and we all knew it wasn't right for Michael Matthews. He is a great one-day bike rider, but setting him up to try and win big bunch sprints in the Tour de France isn't the way to go. It's not what he's great at. So I think this works for everybody. And Dylan Grunewagen is a seriously good sprinter. He's right up there in the top 3 or 4. When he's at his best, he can beat anyone. He was right up there with Caleb at his best.
What is interesting, though, with the signing is normally when a sprinter comes across a team, they bring a posse with them. You know, there's always a couple of lead-out guys. Like when Cav would go to a new team, he takes Renshaw and a couple of others. When Caleb goes to a new team, he takes his lead-out train as well. But Dylan's going solo. How do you think that will go?
It'll go really well because he never needed a real big lead-out train. That's not the type of guy he was. He was. So you got Mez gets in there with Grunewagen. It's a wonderful duo, and those stages where they almost got there in the Tour and the Vuelta. That'll have a very different outcome. So I think it's going to be it's wonderful both of them because the way it had gone with Jumbo and the people they've signed on, it was going to be hard for Dylan to get a ride in, the Tour de France. He wouldn't have got a ride. And now, so it's better for his career. He signed over 3 years. I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Well, it's going to be an interesting 2022. I know all the guys behind the scenes are pretty excited about it. And I'm sure you will be too, John. There's no doubt about that. Before we bring race director Scotty Sunderland on, Oz Cycling posted a video previewing the World's course, and being a YouTube pirate, of course I grabbed it. So let's have a look at the first summary of the course before we bring Scotty Sunderland on.
Hello, I'm Ryan from Oz Cycling, here to take a first look at the course that will be used at the 2022 UCI Road World Championships right here in Wollongong, New South Wales. I've just ridden a lap of the circuit with former professional Mark Renshaw and local rider Josie Talbot. Let's check it out. The elite road races will be made up of 3 sections: a coastal run-in from the town of Helensburgh, a longer loop with the 8.7 kilometre climb of Mount Kira, and this shorter circuit, shown in green. As its name suggests, the Wollongong City Circuit is an urban circuit that twists and turns through the downtown streets of Wollongong and its surrounding suburbs. There's one official climb on this circuit, Mount Pleasant, which rises for just over a kilometre at an average of 7.7%. This short but steep hill peaks at 8 kilometres from the finish which will be right next to Wollongong Beach after a flowing descent and flat run-in along the foreshore. The under-23 and junior races will be held entirely on the Wollongong City Circuit, while all the time trials will use most of the same roads, but without the climb.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a very exciting city circuit. We've got lots of corners, we've got some small roads, and we've got some really steep, sharp climbs. Obviously, you're really going to put the pressure on the bunch multiple times for both the men and women. So I'm pretty confident it's going to end up being a very difficult city circuit.
The course is very technical, which I love, the corners and the steep climbs, and a little bit technical coming into the finish, a couple of corners. Yeah, I'd love to see a sprint finish there.
I think the key features of this city circuit will be the climb to Mount Pleasant. It's only short compared to some of the climbs that these riders will be doing back in Europe, but the steepness and the gradient at the start of the climb is going to be really difficult. It's going to be a very exciting finish coming in along the seafront. They've got the beaches on their left-hand side. Depending on what the weather's doing, the wind, for example, it's going to make it very exciting. Very fast sprint finish, as you can see behind me here. So I envisage a small group coming to the finish line together. I think the organising committee has put together a really great course. Visually, you're going to have the mountains, you've got the beaches, sunshine here in Wollongong. So look, it's going to be amazing viewing.
Of course, the beautiful beaches and the cliffs in the background, but also some of the key climbs that the riders get to go up. Beautiful greenery. Everything about Wollongong is beautiful to look at.
Fantastic preview there. Thanks from Oz Cycling, and the race director, Scott Sunderland, joins us live from sunny Belgium. Scotty, Merry Christmas, mate. Welcome back to the Detour. How are you travelling?
Thanks, Dan. Merry Christmas to you all and all to the listeners. You are right, mate. It's a shocker of a day. It is.
Yeah,
Almost can't see the towers. Yeah, we've really been struggling for good weather this year. Belgium's living up to its reputation of being pretty miserable and wet. You know.
Well, the main thing is you got plenty of scotch in the background, mate. That'll get you through.
Yeah, that's some of the things that you get to look at. I was listening to the boys talking about, Mitch retiring and Heino, on the brink of retiring, and I was talking about the pros and cons of when you do get to retire, and that's one of them, being able to enjoy a scotch of an evening, particularly on a wet evening.
John enjoyed it when he was racing, mate.
Yeah,
Didn't stop him.
but each to their own. I wasn't as much a pro as these guys, so I won't
JT was an exception to everything, mate. So every rule that there was, JT pretty much broke it in the rule book.
Yeah, exactly. How does it feel now that the cat's out of the bag and the course has been released?
No, it's great. It's really good. I was at the World Tour seminar for the UCI on Thursday and Friday, and so I was getting bombarded by questions prior to the announcement on Friday. So it really only happened here on Friday morning that we got it through. So I was bombarded by all the team managers and etc. and a little bit of press that was there about questions on it, more details and etc. I said, look, guys, we've had the initial announcement now of the 3 different parts of the course, which you just saw, but all the timings and the distances, etc., will all be announced a little bit later. But no, really happy with the course. I mean, I can go into detail a bit later, but very happy.
We want to do that. Firstly, I just want to say congratulations, Scotty, on getting the gig as race director.
Thank you.
I couldn't think of a better person. One, you're from New South Wales, which fits in really well. And 2, you're race director of some of the biggest races in the world, the Tour of Flanders and the Flanders Classics, plus Cadel Race. So you've been around for a while. And I was reading a really good story the other day, and I knew a bit about it, anyway, that you lived, when you moved into Sydney, you did a lot of training and stayed a lot of time in Wollongong. So you do know the roads around here very well.
Yeah, look, when I first went down to Sydney, particularly in my junior years, so I was living up in Inverell still, and I'd go down for my training, and I'd stay with a good friend of mine, Anthony Flynn, and I'd stay just down near Sutherland. And I trained with Matt Mazzano, Cezi, Nico. I'm talking about Kevin Nichols and all those blokes, So we used to always head straight down to the national park, and a lot of that time would take in Mount Buller and the loops down there. And then a good mate of mine, Sandro Corradini, was from Wollongong. He raced the same period with me, so I'd often end up being down there on the weekend, and we'd go training, etc. And plus all the other races, like the bank race, Phil Phil Bates always took the bank race down in and around Wollongong. We had crits out there on Flagstaff Hill and so forth. So yeah, it's an area where everyone from New South Wales knows very well from all the racing and particularly from the training, because it offers those perfect training grounds, climbs and beaches, beautiful beaches, and direct access from Sydney, which is one of the other components which makes Wollongong a logical place to be having a World Championships.
So when it comes to course design, obviously, John, you designed the course in 2010 in Geelong. But a few other people have taken credit for that as well. So I don't know if you actually did, but anyway. But what goes into course design? Like, how many variables are you trying to balance up there? Because if it was me, it'd be like cricket. Rig the pitch so that the Aussies win. So I just have a pancake flat, Caleb Ewan, line it out, Bob's your uncle.
Well, in one way, yeah, a bit like John, I'd love to be able to just have the blank piece of paper and draw it up myself exactly how I would like it. But it's a little bit of a compromise. You've got certain stakeholders which are involved in decision making. And number one is the owner of the event, which is UCI. So yeah, we need to take into what they're looking at achieving with the result they're looking at having, and also then we've got New South Wales, of course, and then we've got Wollongong who are hosting the event. I think, as you can see, we're pretty much ticking a lot of boxes with the way the design of the course has been or happened, with the remote start of Helensburgh for the elite women and elite men. You're just capturing the full length of the Illawarra Shire there and the beautiful, beautiful coastline from Helensburgh down to Wollongong. The city circuit pretty much, as was just mentioned, it captures the city and the outlying suburbs with Mount Pleasant, the key to that part of it. And then, of course, there's no way we could do Wollongong without doing Mount Kira and covering the escarpment. It's famous for climbing. I rode Mount Kira when I was a young bloke back there, and I think there's quite a few races have been going over there. So to answer your question, Jonesy, it's a tough one, because I could do it accordingly to what I think would make it a very dynamic race, a spectacle race, a race which would attract all the riders, not just sprinters, not just the world's best climbers, and not just the classics riders. So you're trying to get that nice balance of that. So that comes in how you design your course around where are those particular difficulties, such as Mount Kira. Where do you put that in? Do you put it in the beginning? Do you put it in the middle? Do you put it in the end? And as you can imagine, we put it in the end, we're pretty much going to end up with a Giro de Lombardia finish. We put it in the beginning, we're going to have pretty much guaranteed sprint finish. Put it in the middle, then we're more or less going to have sort of that classics rider, the antagonistic being antagonistic for the GC riders, like your Rolex and so forth. A little bit like what we had at the Olympic Games, just far enough from the finish that the best climbers can still win. So yeah, to answer your question, it's still all open because it's going to be the UCI who makes the final decision.
Right. It's interesting, isn't it? Because there's a really good article in Cycling Tips where they talk to Steve Pedersen, who's the head of sport of the Wollongong 2022, and he said a lot of things you've just said. And it also it was with Gracie Elvin, who's on the technical advisory group, along with Anoni Wood, Mark Renshaw, Kate Bates, and Ben Curson, who's a Wollongong boy. So when you look at all those names involved, they're steeped in knowledge of cycling. So with you and a group like that working together, it can be a ripper. I remember GTR, the company I used to be involved with, we ran the Gong Ride. And so that used to do a lot of that course down there. And I remember driving around some of the roads around the area, looking at a more serious extension for the more serious bike riders to be part of the Gong Ride. And part of it was Mount Kira and that course, which is a ripper of a climb. Yeah. But it's just so beautiful down there. That bit of that road, the bridge road, where it extends out over the ocean, is just world class. So it's going to be something pretty special.
Yeah, look, you are right, John. To me, Wollongong is sort of like your Geelong of Victoria, and this part of the beach road from Helensburgh through and the escarpment is very similar to what you got in the Cadell Atlantic Ocean Road race. Of course, we've got probably more famous Great Ocean Road coming up from Lorne. Well, further down, but more known from Lorne as the gateway to the Great Ocean Road, Torquay. So there's some similarities there, and that's what we're going to see for these World Championships as well. As with instead of being with Geelong, starting in Melbourne, finishing in Geelong, here we're having it in Helensburgh, taking a bit more of the coastline and finishing in Wollongong. So I think it's fantastic in such a short period that we've or we will have 2 World Championships in Australia. And I just think, that the work that's been done by the committee right from the beginning around this course, working within the wants and needs of the stakeholders as well. And remember, we've got to work with the city council. It's not like Olympic Games where pretty much the whole city gets shut down and everyone leaves town who lives there to make way for all the spectators. You've got the whole city which still needs to operate day to day while the World Championships have been running from Sunday. It will be running from Sunday to Sunday. And that includes, getting on and off the highways, working with the police to able to manage the traffic planning, the management around getting vehicles in and out, and of course, people who live there. So it's a big task. It was a big job for the committee. Stu Taggart, the CEO, has done an amazing job with working with everyone on that, and then including the rest of the team with Sally Heading and Steve Peterson.
We've obviously talked about it for years now, the effects of COVID with race planning and all that sort of stuff. How much did COVID affect even the planning for the Worlds, which is still, 12 months away?
Well, that's sort of what I alluded to before. It comes down to the UCI making the final decision, and because they just simply haven't been in Wollongong yet, mate. I was supposed to have gone out last year already. It just kept getting pushed back, and then the UCI are now looking, after speaking with Morgan and Michael Rogers on Friday, is that they're probably looking at the back end of February before they can get there, because they've got a very loaded January. They've got the World Championships happening for cyclocross in the US, so they need to be over there for that. And then they've got Canada. They need to do a few other things up in Canada. So that pretty much the earliest point in their schedule they can get out is end of February. I was trying to hope they could get out at the end of January, so then I could be there as well. Because at the end of February, I've got to be back here for the Olympic Newsblood, the first of the Flinders Classics races. So we'll wait and see. And once they've been able to get feet on the ground and they can do their own course analysis, everything's been sent to them that they need to have as far as GPX files and all the other information that they need, maps, etc. And the whole barricade planning and traffic management planning, etc. But they just need to be able to physically see it before they can give it that final tick of the box that this will be exactly how it will run out. So until that happens, Dan, we just won't be able to release the course, or Stu Taggart won't be able to release the course to the public.
Well, that just burns about half your questions, John.
Not really, because I'll tell you what. No,
Sorry,
it is so interesting because it must be frustrating. Because what is going to happen? I mean, when you look at that course, it's a sensational course. So you've got 3 parts to it, as you've alluded to. You've got the beautiful start, from Helensburgh all the way down the coast, magnificent. And then you've got the 2 circuits. You've got the city circuit and the Mount Kira circuit. That's going to decide this bike race. I mean, with this course, if you do a loop, even in the middle with Mount Kira and finish with all the city loops, Caleb Ewan can win there, but if it finishes with the red circuit, we call it the Mount Kira circuit, near the end of the race, then it becomes a serious road classic specialist, not a Caleb. And then even the same for the women. You have Mount Kira towards the end, and then that cuts out a Chloe Hosking who could win on a flatter circuit, and it puts a Grace Brown in with a chance. So it changes the dynamics for the Australians very much. I mean, we've got plenty of Aussies who'll go well on the tough circuit. Michael Matthews, Rowan Dennis, all of these guys, but there's other guys who will still beat them in that situation. Whereas if Caleb can get to the end, he can win.
100%, John. You can. It depends on how you want to cut up the pie on this and how it's going to go down. Is that the road starts from Moat Start, so those 30 kilometres, which are pretty much downhill at the beginning, and then following the coastline, gorgeous. So probably a break will establish at that point. They'll come across the finish line the first time. And whether we go to Mount Kira straight away or we do some city laps and then Mount Kira in the middle, it all depends. So that's really the beauty of it. And that's going to be a hard one for David Lapatian and his team to decide on what they actually really want here. You're pretty much deciding on who you have at the finish line. Yeah. So it's going to be your pure sprinters, where it's going to be your Milan San Remo type riders like Caleb Ewan who can survive the climbs and still be at the sprint, or you go for your GC guys. And me personally, I've got my own opinion on it because I sort of looked about trying to make it as even as possible and trying to keep all the antagonists in the race for as long as possible. The other thing, John, too, is that you need to make sure you got your team right, your team selection right. So, not all national teams are built around just a sprinter, and we saw that with Cipollini, who handpicked his own national team. Remember, for Zolder to have his lead-out team. So it's there's a lot of dynamics to it. It's not as simple as what people sort of make. Yeah, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. So, well, yeah. We saw that with Flanders this year. A lot of people said it was going to be a sprint as well, and
But exactly that Flanders. What I loved about Flanders, it was a bit confusing when they were trying to explain it to me, but I loved the way it worked. Was you had the big circuit, then you come into the two circuits, and they mixed them up. You did a few of that and a few of the other, and back to that, and that's what I'm sure they're going to do here. It's how they do that mix. And where they, how many times they go up Mount Kira is going to decide it. So, my other question to you is, who gets that final say? You come down, UCI come, and they say, okay, we like this, we like that. Do they actually say you have to do this many laps and finish with that, or in the end, is it the decision of you and the group at Wollongong?
First of all, answer the question directly. It's not our decision. How the process works is in World Championships, they'll give an outline of what they're looking for due to the geography of the country there where the World Championships are being hosted. You pretty much know the distances across the board for all the races, from juniors through the women and men. Then you go about setting up your courses. You send through your proposals of what you want to have as the course. And that also depends for the LOC, the local organising committee. On where they can, what they want to showcase, because that's where the money's coming from, with those cities and the types of roads that you have. So then you put these proposals forward, and each time there's a process. So the UCI will say, "Yep, we like what you're thinking. This looks good." Blah blah blah. And I mean, it's not just about designing a course with nice roads and beautiful scenery. There's also the safety aspect of it, that the roads are wide enough. They're not too technical, but technical enough. I mean, you don't want to be riding along freeways all the time, like we saw at Doha with the World Championships Qatar. But you want to create something like that. So pretty much the committee's just set about creating a city circuit that is dynamic enough, but also fits in within the structure of that stakeholders are set out. Like as I mentioned before, with the police and how you can get past certain exits and entries onto highways, because you've got two major highways running through Wollongong, so that was a big task. And also not to be able to inconvenient local people where they're living, like in domestic areas where the houses are, so that all those people who can get home to their houses or leave their houses, and also for hospitals, etc., etc. So once all that's taken place, all comes back to the head of road and the road commission, who's in charge of the World Championships. So Peter van der Bielen and Morgan Gauthier, Michael Roy, you already know, who's head of road, Matthew Knight, and then the president will sit down with them. They'll present it all to him, the pros and the cons, etc., and then they'll make that decision. So pretty much to the top man in the job, mate, and that's going to be David Lapatian will make that call on exactly where Mount Kira will sit in amongst that.
John,
with the advice.
It sounds like we're going to have to lobby, mate. We're going to have to get in Michael Rogers' ear and say, "Mate, we're putting on the bloody show. We've got all this expense with all these resources on. We need a sprint, and the bands are coming home. Like, that's it. It's simple." Because for me, a layman, okay, great worlds when there's a group off the front and then someone's the strongest and they win solo. But how good is a bunch sprint? To win the worlds when up until 20 meters to go, you don't know who's going to win. Fantastic. It doesn't happen every year. It's simple. Put on a show. Give it. Make it flat stage.
I think we've got a good crack.
Said like a true sprinter.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was a fantastic
I reckon
Worlds
it was a
the
good
year that
crack on that.
Cav won it, I reckon. That was a fantastic Worlds in Denmark. I mean, Gossi got
Yeah,
pipped, but the spectacle was pretty good.
I thought
that was kinda-
this year's world title was one of the best I've ever seen. Amazing. Just the scenes from this year's Flanders world title, just brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what we're going to do is have a quick drinks break. When we come back, we're going to dissect a little bit more.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike. 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Life is like a two-way street. It's about consideration and mutual respect. Roads are much the same. However you get around, walk, ride or drive, if we share our roads, we can all be safer. The Amy Gillett Foundation is Australia's peak cycling safety charity. Our mission is for safe cycling in Australia. Our vision is for 0 cyclist deaths. Over the last year, we've seen an enormous increase in people taking up cycling, whether it be for recreation, with the family, commuting, or even to start your own cycling career. We need to do more to make it safer for every cyclist. 20 cyclists every day are hospitalised, and 1 cyclist is killed every 10 days on Australian roads. So, the next time you jump on your bike or hop in your car, remember to practice the 4 C's. Be courteous, calm, considerate, and conscientious. Every cyclist death is preventable, and we all deserve to get home safely. Please donate to help the Amy Gillett Foundation make the roads safer for you and for me.
Thanks again to Bike Exchange and the Amy Gillett Foundation. I want to ask you, Scotty, experience. You know, you've been race director for a long time now for various races across the world. How crucial is that experience when you come into things like the Road Worlds, you know, coming up next year, where you can go, guys, that's not going to work. We've tried this before, and all those sort of things compared to when you first went into the job?
Yeah, look, it is important, very, very important. I think we're pretty fortunate. Stu Taggart's put a good team of people together who, part of the Wollongong 2022. My experience will bring to me, I think where it's most valuable is, seeing anything that potentially could be a red flag prior to the Worlds. But also just, checking on things through in your preparation. I mean, poor preparation is poor performance. So it's just about being prepared as well you can be, as best you can be. Then when it comes down to just the management during the week, it's just having that experience that don't forget this, don't forget that, or when something actually does happen, and you have a scenario that comes up, that you know how to deal with it and deal with it in the right way, and try and get it pretty much as 100% as you can, the response to it, so that it gets fixed. So it's building a team, having a team of experience that you can tap into is vital in these sorts of things.
We've got a couple of live comments. Of course, Wendy Superfan. Hi, Dan, John, and all. Heath says, G'day, Heath. Troy Collett says, time trial course looks a bit technical. And on the time trial, Pushkar says, hey, guys, nice to catch you live. What's your take on men's and women's UCI ITT Championship being the same distance? This is probably not the kind of equality we asked for.
Look, equality, as we know, is a big one, guys. we're seeing that the women's time trial for the first time is run on the same day as the men's on the Sunday, the opening day of the World Championships. I think it's a great thing. I'm all for that. Australia's big on equality. I mean, we see that with the Carnarvon Scotian Road Race, offered equal prize money before anyone else was doing it, before it became trendy. They're already
just Bay Christopher first, but you're next. That's fine.
Okay, John, sorry about that.
30 minutes in, and we talked about it in the opener. So we're
how could I forget?
Right.
So yeah. Now I've lost my thread, John.
Equality, time trial. Yeah.
So yeah, look, the time trials, I think you can go either way. Once again, it's the UCI who's going to sign off on this, but I think it's not a bad thing, especially with the time trial. For the men to do 40 kilometres or 30 kilometres and the women to do 30 or 40, I think that's one thing that we can pretty much even up.
What is the distance, Scotty? Because I've looked at the maps and all of the stories about it, but it didn't actually say the distance.
Yeah, that's something else I can't say just yet. It's something else to be said.
He won't stop trying, mate. He'll catch you. If you've had one of those scotchies for
we know it's 30 or 40. 30 or 40. Okay.
Mate,
all right.
If this was Sunday night, then you might have got me there on that one, John, but it's Sunday morning.
Yeah. I've got another comment from Tom Maloney. He says, I'm with you, Iffy. This year's Worlds was a fantastic formula. It was a full demonstration of the endurance, persistence, and overall physical aspects of our sport. So Tommy's in your corner there, Iffy.
Now, but to answer the question, while it's technical, it's not too bad, because remember the streets of Australia, in most cases, particularly Wollongong as well, the nice wide streets. So we can sort of pretty much keep the road width as wide as we want, and narrow it down to as narrow as we need it to be. Create safe corners. I've gone through and had a look at that, along with the rest of the committee, particularly with Mark Renshaw and Steve Peterson. We've had a good look at it, particularly around doing the barrier lining and et cetera on the course. I think it's quite good. I think it's quite safe. And the really top, your Cancellara's this world will pretty much do that whole time trial course in the drops, in the skis. So it's going to be super fast for the time trial, and they are not doing the complete climb, as it was mentioned on the video at the beginning. For the time trial, it'll just be too steep at 14%, but they'll be doing a little bit shorter version of the local city circuit, which will be dynamic and the same and equal for everybody from juniors right through to elite men.
It must have also changed dramatically, in the last 10 years in terms of the demand for video footage of the course, because now you can plug it into things like Full Gas, you can simulate the climbs and all this sort of stuff. I mean, back in your day, Scotty, and geez, even worse with Iffy, what'd you have to go on? It was a couple of weeks out of me and the team. What's the course look like? And let's go.
Well, it was like that, Dan. I mean, even for the big tours, it's really hard to get an idea of what climbs you would be doing. And then, of course, if you're a French man and a French team, you pretty much get you get to know a lot earlier, so you can go and recon it if you didn't already know it. Same for Italy and that. And the teams just didn't have the budgets to go and send you down there to do a recon of the course, and particularly those vital stages. It wasn't until the days of Lance Armstrong that really started to kick off, that they could get the course early enough, and then they could go out and recon it, which Lance used to do. And I think in that way, for all the negatives and positives of Lance Armstrong, that was one positive that he brought to the world of cycling, is his level of professionalism and reconning stages. But to answer your question, it's pretty much my time. It sort of just came into a trend with Lance at the end of my career, what he was doing. But before that, GPX files just simply didn't exist. We didn't have GPSs in that same way, and you definitely couldn't upload them into a mobile head unit or anything else, So I think we have come a long way with that. And also, like you said, with the videoing, we see that used for all the sprinters now. They'll send their performance team in front of the stage. They'll video what the last 3 kilometers look like. And then the sprinters and the whole team will watch that last 3 kilometers with all the barricades put up in position, with all the traffic islands removed, and etc. So they know exactly which side of the road they need to be on at what point of the final of the sprint.
I remember watching one of your first pro world titles, I reckon it probably was, down in Sicily.
Yeah.
What year was that? Not early 90s?
Mate, I think that was Stuttgart was my first World Championships as a pro. I didn't go to Japan because national team just pretty much didn't exist then. So I had to pay it myself to go to Japan. So that was the first one I could do as a pro. So I went to Sicily, and that would have been year 92, I think, John, 91, 92.
Yeah, I remember I was there. It was a fantastic world titles, and you put up a super ride. Actually, unlucky not to be in the top, maybe on the podium. Just the right move, it was gone, and you got caught. And then went again, and you missed that
story.
It was an iffy story, but it was a very good ride all the same. Very good.
That's where Chiappucci harpooned his team. Then I don't know if you remember. So we come to the feed zones right at the top, and the only narrow section of the road is through the feed zone. So you go past the finish line. And then the feed zone is across the top there. And Chiappucci moved towards the front. And I was sitting not too bad, but I went to take my feed bag, and he didn't. So he's just gone bang down the left side as everyone else was taking their feed bags, including his other teammates, which was Furlan, who was in the hot form. I don't know if you remember. And so he's just gone bang down the outside there. And it just happened that Luc LeBlanc and Richard Varenka were just in his wheel. And I just gone, this is a setup. So by the time I needed to get the bottles because it was stinking. I think it was about 40 degrees, John, or something.
Oh, bloody hot. Yeah.
So it was either that point that either you drop your bottles and go without water or you go with attack. And I sort of went the bottles thing, which, I end up regretting afterwards. But, it is what it is.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, how important is it it's obviously a really big deal to host the World Championships. And you saw the flow-on effect with Geelong, born after that was the Great Ocean Road Race, the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race. Are they, it'd be remiss not to expect that they're going to want to capitalise on this. And there's been a lot of talk, with the Nationals, should they move that? Or do you think the calendar, there's enough room to do something special every year in Wollongong, a UCI level event? Or do you think with logistics, it might be pretty tricky?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. There's a couple of points there. Is there room in the calendar? And second of all, logistics is to be able to get the teams out there. The hole in the calendar is the big one, what you're coming up against. And it also depends on what type of race you want to do. Definitely Wollongong and New South Wales want to create a legacy off the back of World Championships. I mean, that's always in for everybody's mind, and when state governments are giving him money to such big events and having world class major events, is that you try to create a legacy off this from the investment. What that is, I don't really know. Yeah, great idea. Have the Nationals up in Wollongong. That would be a great destination, easy access for a lot of people who would need to travel up there. That could be something that's considered. But the other one of getting international races into there, who knows, mate? I mean,
does Wollongong have a bay? It's got a bay, doesn't it? Bay Crits could relocate the highest bidder.
You could go Bay Crits interstate. It could be something. Or
maybe we'll take a leg there. But look, I saw it touted. They were talking about seeing if they could get the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race to be run leading up to the Worlds, but it was never. Of course, it was never really a chance because the Worlds aren't like you haven't got pro teams coming out here. You've got national teams coming out here. It just would have been too hard. So,
look, I was asked that question. Somehow, someone said that it was a definite thing that was being considered. It was just a discussion we had internally at Visit Victoria. Is there another date? And I pretty much said, when are you going to do it? When is it possible? Because prior to the Worlds, you've got this, that, and the other. You've got national teams, just as you said, John. And the thing is that the pro teams at that time have also, don't forget, they're in Canada. They've got 3 races in Canada. They're in Spain with the Tour of Spain just finishing. At that time of the year, they don't have a lot of riders left over to be sending to anywhere else. And they're also got no say on what riders go to the national teams. And then it also comes in a question, who's going to pay? Because is it going to be a national team? Would it be the trade team, the pro teams, etc.? So it's just too many questions without answers and too hard basket in the end of it.
When they had the team time trial, which the pro teams, that's why I had to stop because it was costing just too much money. But at least then you would have all the teams come out for the Worlds with their teams for the World Team Time Trial. So that would have given at least an opportunity. But now that doesn't happen. There is no place for the World Tour teams.
And it, like Dan said before, though, John, we're just getting so condensed. There's so many new races. There's so many new events. I mean, pretty much world cycling has been condensed down to being European cycling. It hasn't been world cycling because of the pandemic. But as we're starting to open up now, which hopefully we'll see again next year, you know, races like I just mentioned, Canada being back on the calendar, racing more internationally outside of Europe, you know, we're going to see more opportunities. But, you know, one of those ones, teams time trial, I love the event. I think it was fantastic. I'm sorry that it has gone. And as many of the riders who said it, it's an opportunity in the trade team to be awarded that world championship. And one of the only chances that you ever have to become a world champion is through the team's time trial event. I mean, we've got the mixed relay now, but it's not quite the same as experiencing that with your trade team. But I'm a big fan of the mixed time trial as well. That's Olympic, you know, hopefully will become an Olympic sport. So
maybe they could do something like what they used to do with the Japan Cup, where it was sort of, you know, how the Le Course by Latour or whatever, and they just bring out just a handful of the big guys that did something at the Tour de France, do it as like a Grand Fondo type thing. You can still utilize the circuit. You get all the big names. You still get all the crowds, all that, make a big festival sort of end of season thing. And if you are a cyclist that's a bit of a tight ass, you can sell all your kit in the old school Sun Tour days.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the drinking money for when we went up to Noosa, mate.
That's it. Well, that is one sad part about the calendar is, you know, at the end of the season races, like particularly the Sun Tour and that, I mean, they were infamous for, that was the last race of the year. Like, you know, you let your hair down. Australia, when the weather starts getting good in October, it's perfect.
The world's changed, Dan. The world's changed. It's not
more
like
serious.
Dad's back. Shit. Dad's back playing, you know, footy at Sale, you know, and go to the pub. You know, those days have changed, mate.
I know.
It is. You're so right. And to be honest, I feel a little bit sorry for those guys. Like even my nephew Dylan Sunderland, he hasn't had a chance to experience that. You know, doing the Sun Tours and other races at the end of the year, and then been able to, you know, just hang out with the mates. It's sort of just a big wind down off the European season, and an opportunity for Australians to go back and race. Because if you did miss the beginning of the year, which pretty much in my time was just pretty much the national championships. Remember those, John, out at Port Arlington?
Certainly do.
You know, and then you didn't get a chance to do another race until the end of the year. And if you still had any juice left in the legs, you'd go and do the Sun Tour and then make the migration up to Garth Proud's Noosa criteriums, which was just, you know, unloading and great year and a lot of fun. And as you mentioned, Dan, a bit of a chance to catch up with your mates and have a few beers and stuff, you know. So I do think that they don't quite have that. The racing is so much more professional, so there's a lot of things I do love about it, and sort of not jealous, but sort of what would have been like to be a pro during this period, to get the best out of yourself. But on the other side of it, there was a lot of things that they will never experience because of the stress and the requirements of pro teams and the expectations of riders today. So.
The last thing a rider wants to be doing if they're in Europe, exactly as you said, is to go, you got to get on a flight and go to Australia for a week in October. They're going to go, piss off. I don't want it. But then they go, here's a bag of cash in a brown paper bag. They said, yeah, where do I fly out? Let's go.
Well, you know, there's some possibilities there still. But look, you are right, though. To find that hole in the calendar for races in Australia is a difficult one, but it's not to say it's impossible. And he's pretty much hit the nail on the head. It depends on how big that bag is to what you can make happen. I've got ideas in my mind of what we can do to fit to have a series of races in Australia at the end of the year.
So massive bag.
Suitcase, mate, suitcase. Yeah, that'll help. Yeah. Then we're going to be there, especially just to be able to look after Iffy, you know.
That's it. Iffy's bar. Now, John, this is the first ever podcast we've done where I've literally written no questions, and you said, "Oh, mate, I've got heaps." So, what do you want to squeeze out before we wrap things up with Scotty?
Well, I just want to talk about, I think it's going to be a great world title. So I think we start with the worlds. I think we should get back to it. But that's
right. We're talking about the worlds. I forgot about that.
And no matter what we end up with, which loops, we've got some Aussies, you know, who are going to be in the in with a chance. And I just put the list up before. So Caleb, depending on the loops, is going to be a big chance. I hope that the course can suit him, because we do know that he's not just a sprinter. He can actually go a bit deeper than that with his ride.
Lance
Arima shows what he can do. We've known it. Us Aussies have known it for a long time. Then, of course, Michael Matthews, whichever they do, Bling's going to give him a chance. Rowan Dennis, who knows what he's going to do next year? New team. It's got, a course will suit him no matter where it goes. And he would be our big chance. But then Jai Hindley, Luke Plapp, another youngster coming up and could do anything. Jay Vine, Chris Hamilton, Chris Harper, Michael Storer. They're all young Aussies.
Ben O'Connor.
Ben O'Connor was the other one. Was at the bottom of my list here. Ben O'Connor.
You've got him.
He changed teams, dirty dog. No, he hasn't. No. Ben O'Connor. That's of course suits him down. And the same with the girls. We've got Grace Bound, Sarah Gagati, Ruby Roseman Garrett, Sarah Roy,
Amanda Spratt post surgery.
Spratty, she'll be fine by then.
Made this course, yeah.
And Chloe Hosking, if they ended up going on the easier side, But so we've got a lot of good Aussies who can give this a real nudge.
I agree with you totally, John. Look, I think that depending on how the UCI cut up the cake here and then want to serve it with the course, I reckon we've got an Aussie who definitely within reach of podium, and why not the rainbow jersey? 100% across from the juniors. I don't really know, because pretty much juniors haven't raced for 2 years. The under 23s is also a little bit unknown, because once again, unfortunately for Australia, they just haven't been able to get into international racing. But let's hope that the talent comes through, and I'm sure they will. But across for the men's and elite women's, we've got miles of talent there that could be on the podium, and hopefully, like I said, with that rainbow jersey. And that across all disciplines, time trials and road races.
It was funny. We had Rory Sutherland on about a month ago, and the guts of it was, trying to get a bit of a rocket up the arse for the Aussie team to feel the passion, putting the green and gold on and all that. I don't think that's going to be a problem next year. I just got a hunch.
I think so.
I think it could go the other way.
Every interview is going to happen is going to be, Wollongong's my goal, one of my goals. They'll be doing the classics. It could be the Giro, it could be the Tour. But I'm pretty much be no Aussie, or very few Aussies to say the World Championships are not. What would be interesting, though, John, this you may be one of your questions. Sorry, man, I'm probably stealing your thunder here, but is the ones who are going to be doing the Volta and then going to the World Championships as preparation. That's going to be, because it's already a difficult one to do it here, and as we saw for this year's Worlds, who did the Volta and went straight to the Worlds. But now you've got to do that transatlantic jump across to Australia with jet lag. That's going to be a tricky one.
Nate Woobs has got one for you. Jack Haig.
Yes, Jack Haig, of course. Yeah, he's on the other list on the other side of the page.
He only missed the guy podium at the.
It's a big list, mate.
Right?
Big list. But that's encouraging, though, for everybody to know that it doesn't matter how the course ends up being presented, that we're going to have a strong contingent of Aussies for selection, and who will for sure going to be riding their guts out.
All right, Iffy.
Yeah, no, look, I think it's going to be a absolutely brilliant world titles. What I need to know is, have you got my room booked for me yet, Scotty, or have I got to do that myself? No?
I thought you had connections at the Novotel, mate. Don't you have connections there somehow?
He's probably Burnham.
We've got our launch of the Bay Crits at the Novotel in Geelong on Tuesday. And I just happened to have a couple of beers with the big boss of the Novotels. And I forgot to actually throw that hat in the ring. I will do it, though. I will do it this week.
Yeah, because that's pretty well positioned there. I'm not sure. I think the UCI might have beat you to the jump on that one and booked all the rooms. But the other thing too, I mean, Jerry Ryan. I sort of remember one year that the Cadell Evans Goshen Road Race that he turned up on his yacht, parked it there.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, we are on the water. We can sort of turn it into a bit of a glamorous type.
It'd be like the first fleet rolling in.
He sold the bloody yacht, though. Sold the yacht.
Why don't you get a Let's Go motorhome, John? You can go anywhere on the course.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
I'm sure I'll
Camp on
find
Mount Kira,
I'll
mate.
find a bed. I'll
Yeah.
find a bed. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
going. Look,
No,
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a sensational world
Yeah.
title, and I really. It's just a bummer that we can't. You can't name the course now, but you can understand. But we're going to wait another couple of months. It's a fair while.
Yeah, be part of the suspense, though. I mean, the good thing is that people like yourself, Iffy, and Dan, you're going to go up there and ride it, drive it, and you better critique it
Ride
all
it?
to what it potentially could be, or drive it.
Yeah,
If
drop
you can
it.
ride and you can drive and film me,
Yeah.
that'd be good. That'd be good TV, good podcast.
We will do a podcast. We'll definitely do that. We'll
Yeah.
tell us when you're going to be there, Scotty, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll get there and do it for sure.
Yep.
Well, there could be some news around that when I'm going to be out there, and potentially a few other people. So, like I said, at this point, the UCI are looking at trying to be there by the end of Feb. I'm not sure exactly what I can do with my time, but we're looking at different things. So, yeah, could be on it. But I'll definitely drop you a line if I'm going to be there, mate.
Good stuff, mate.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else, John, before we wrap things up?
No, all great. And
All good.
apologies to Ben O'Connor and Jack Hay, two of our superstars. I just left off the list. I probably left about another half a dozen off as well. But anyway,
Mate,
Yeah.
what a World
So be it.
Championships if they'd had Mount Kira guys in the end.
Yeah.
And we have the likes of these guys and Jai Hindley, or we've got a sprint. I mean, pretty much Australia with the talent that's in Australia at the moment. It doesn't matter how the UCI put this course; it's going to be amazing for Australian riders. I mean, could be anything. Could be anything.
Before we go, Tom Maloney says, Vale Heather Hollingworth, former partner of Mike, who passed away recently, resulted in car accident 2 years ago. Where he raced, she was there. A beautiful lady, and those of the 60s era all loved her. She remained a passionate cycling supporter and critic lifelong. RIP Heather. So,
yeah, on you, Tommy. Yeah.
On you,
He
Tommy.
always he always backs me on things, Tom, because he still remembers when we were 1973. Get to the border, the Australian team were heading from Belgium to Holland, and stop at the border, and Tommy lost his passport. So I had to get off the train with him, go through all that drama. So Tommy, yeah, so
You love linking stories with people, and it comes back to you being a hero. There's no fluke to that. And
Can't help it,
Jason Cruz from the Maldives says, looks like some great aspects of the course. Personally, he'd like to see a climb around 10 Ks from the finish. That's what Jace wants to see from the Maldives.
Well, there's going to be some curiosity happening, that's for sure. A lot of speculation coming around to these final worlds layout. It's going to be exciting. I think it's part of the hype, really.
Well, Mount Pleasant, which is the smaller climb on the street circuit, that's inside. That's about 8K to go or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, 8Ks to go from the top. And the thing is, it's a very fast downhill. So it really depends on who goes over the top. If you're solo, it's going to be a tough one. If it's a headwind for the last 3 kilometers to the finish. If it's a tailwind, yeah, good luck in trying to get them back. So it's a little bit the same with Geelong. Remember when Cadell chipped off the front at the end? If he didn't have that headwind, I reckon Cadell would have been world champion that year. But it was really, really hard, that run through to the back the end of this to the coast. Again, for the last 3 kilometers, 2 kilometers to the finish line, very similar in that way. So yeah, it just depends on the conditions and the group formations. If you go with 2 or 3 over the top of the last climb at the Mount Pleasant, or you're going with a solo. It's whatever it's going to be, John. It's going to be a dynamic race. It's going to be exciting. If it's more for the sprinters or if it's more for the climbers, it's just going to be super exciting because the course has got a bit of everything. And end of the day, mate, the riders make the race. We saw that this year at Flanders. The French team just kicked off 180 k's to go.
Alaphilippe going for number 3, eh? Can he do a cigar and do 3 in a row?
Well, it could be. Hopefully not, because we want an Aussie up there. But
That's right.
Either way, again, it would be an exciting race of cycling.
You got cramp, John. Oh, he's got cramp. All right, that's time to go, folks. YouTube.com/the
cramp. Talking about the world title, I got the cramp.
If he's got cramp. Hey, thanks for joining us, Scotty. It's always a pleasure when you come on the show, mate, and wish you and your family all the best for Chrissy. And
Likewise.
we look forward to seeing you out in Australia when you get down here and enjoy the summer of cycling and all the best, mate. We're looking forward to a fantastic Worlds in 2022.
Thanks very much, Dan and John. Congratulations for the great year of the podcast. It's been able to keep us going with the detour and that, and all the best for the summer. I'm just going to duck down to that French bakery and pick up a nice few croissants. Iffy, I heard
Enjoy,
you guys
mate.
talking about French bread with Nicky the other day. So,
Oh, good.
You,
All right, bud.
you know what goes good with a ham and cheese croissant? Dip it in a bit of scotch, mate. Enjoy. All right,
Not
guys.
this early in the morning. Right, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.
See you later. Cheers.
This is the winning ride of the